Namaskar, everyone. So, a warm welcome to today's healing circle. And as we begin, I'd just like to let me just set my space well. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's spend a couple of minutes in centering as we begin today. Okay. Just give attention to the breathing. Breathing out slowly and breathing in deeply. Let's center in a space of infinite being, the God space within us. And let's open our space to each other. At the very hub of existence, we are one. Let's embrace that principle, oneness. And let us be aware that our minds are operating in each other's field. That we are all operating in a collective mind, a universal mind. And let's hold the awareness of being an instrument, not the doer. Let's remember this series is be well, stay well. At the very core of being, we are always well. Challenges in the mental field, as we identify with limitations, and the physical field, where we experience limitations in a physical body. So as you center in the very source of existence, let's hold the awareness that there is perfection there. And let us hold the awareness of the possibility that we can reprogram our mental space. It is a completely malleable space, open to change, and transformation in a quantum sense. It can happen in a moment. It is the physical that takes longer to reprogram. Let's hold the image of goodness, wellness, in our mental space. And knowing that at the very center of our being, that is the reality. Pure goodness, pure love, infinite peace. So as we hold this in our mental field, know that we are resonating with our very core. We are in resonance with the very core. That's how we energize our mental field. By attuning it to our very core, by holding the awareness of goodness, love, peace, compassion, kindness. Let's allow this to spread into our entire physical field by breathing into the gut area of the physical body. Rhythmic breathing. Let's keep awareness of the spinal column, from its root to the brainstem. That is how aware our soul connects to the senses, to the brain. And to the elements of nature. Let's open our field that we may connect with each other across a field of peace, love, and harmony. Let there be peace, love, and harmony in our coexistence. Let that resonate in your mind as we connect to our source being, and let it resonate in every cell of the physical body. Let there be peace, love, and harmony in our coexistence with all of life. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everyone. Now we have a great lineup for you today. And in this series, we're going to continue to educate you to get you to know your physical body, how it operates. And we're going to ask those who've studied the subject intensely, and those who truly understand what a physical experience is at a deeper level. We're going to have today Adidev Akshay Narayan, and he, from a very young boy, a few years old, he met me. And so he has been my disciple ever since. And he is working for his PhD now, finished his master's and into the field of neuroscience. He's done research in the field of biology. And of course, he would know much more than I do in terms of all that he has done. But more than anything else, he has embraced the spirit of our teachings. So how he has balanced that with his field will be very interesting to know. And he has a tremendous passion for teaching. He does that now, teaching research and studying for his, to complete his PhD. I'll let him tell you just a little bit of him about himself, but it is a joy for me today to bring him to our circle, our session, and to have him tell us all about what he's been learning, where his passion lies, and how he can help us to be well and stay well. So I'm not going to say anything more, but allow our dear Adidev to take the floor. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Adi, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Guruji. Namaskar, everyone. Namaskar, Guruji. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today. It is so exciting. If you can see behind me, I'm live to you from the research lab today. So it just worked out that way, and it's beautiful. As Guruji said, I'm working on my PhD, and my PhD, I generalize and I say it's in neuroscience, but I think part of the Be Well, Stay Well series, and I saw it there at the bottom, was a key word there I feel is integration. And integration is something that I am so excited about. That is really my PhD, is in integrative neuroscience. So how do we take the field of what happens in our nervous system and address it on so many different levels to really understand this fascinating organ that we call the brain and our nervous system. So that is my passion. That is what I do. And I'm so excited to share a little bit of what I've learned over my education so far, and not just the education component to it, how this education then informs my spiritual practice, and I think some really exciting ideas of how we can address the challenging times that we meet with on an international level, combining the knowledge and our spiritual practice together. I think it's a beautiful combination. So I hope that you all are excited too. And if we can get started with the slides, I'm happy to walk you through the next few minutes. So the title of my talk is Our Brain Power, how our brain and nervous system influences our wellness. I think the brain is so underestimated sometimes that the power of what goes on in here can influence us on so many levels. So I think that you'll find some of the topics we discussed today so interesting. So let's move to the next one. A little overview. There's going to be a little bit of the education component, as Guruji spoke about, a little bit about how our brain and our behavior, our mood influences our actual nervous system. How does that tangibly happen in our bodies? And then we'll discuss a little bit about vaccines. There's a little bit about that, and specifically about fever. That's an interesting dynamic there. And it has all to do with the brain, So I'm going to touch on that a little bit. And then we want to put things into practice. We want to do things. We want to, again, take these teachings and carry it forward. And that's what the conscious vaccination, it was a little steps that came to me last night that hopefully inspire you in the vaccination process, should you choose to do that. It'd be very exciting. So let's talk a little bit about the nervous system. So here we see how does the brain affect the nervous system. For decades, researchers thought that the brain was completely independent of our immune system, that these two systems didn't really talk to each other out of fear that that the brain could be impacted badly by inflammation and all of these things. But you fast forward to now, especially in the 21st century, it is understood that our brain has multiple ways of talking to our immune system. And one of the ways is called the HPA axis. Axis is just a fancy word for a cycle, right? A cycle that goes through. And HPA stands for the three major components in this circuit. The first being the hypothalamus, which is in the brain. And that is going to be such a critically important part of what speaks. This is the conductor of everything that goes on. Anytime our brain effectively has to send a signal to our endocrine system, to our hormones, to talk with the rest of our body, it is almost always through the hypothalamus. Because the hypothalamus influences our pituitary gland, which is the next step on our little chart here. Now, you might be a little familiar with the pituitary gland. This is the master gland of the body. It releases almost all of our hormones. So anytime a signal needs to go somewhere to increase something, decrease something, turning up the volume, turning down the volume, the pituitary gland is involved in that in some capacity. But it's taking directions from the hypothalamus. It says, okay, you tell me what to do, and I will do whether things need to grow, things need to change. We need to trigger an immune response, specifically in this case. And the next part we have is the adrenal glands, is the third step on this process. So from the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus that are all up here, we move all the way down to on top of our kidneys. This signal goes through our whole blood system and goes all the way down to the level of our kidneys. And the adrenal glands are sitting right there on top of the kidneys. And the adrenal glands hear this signal from the hypothalamus, and it says, all right, let's release this hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is made in the adrenal gland, and it's just waiting there to release. Now, cortisol is tied, usually you hear it in terms of stress. Stress increases your cortisol levels. But we shouldn't think of cortisol as a bad thing, right? If we see a short-term response of where the cortisol levels could be, actually triggers, if you see on the next part here, the short term, it prepares the body for an immune response, right? So it's actually very good in small amounts. In short time periods, cortisol is actually very positive. It primes our immune system. So if you see on the next part here, we see our immune cells, our white blood cells, they are ready to go. They're ready to launch into action, right? That's what a short amount of cortisol does. But if we maintain in a stressed mood, a mood of high anxiety and high stress, you see the long-term effects now is that there is inflammation, sleep distress. Your sleep centers are actually very close to the hypothalamus. And what happens is what we call a misdirecting of your immune cells. Think of if you're in a yoga posture and you have to keep that posture for a long time. Eventually the muscles start to get tired, right? Your muscles start to get tired because you can't always be in a static position forever and tense. So while a short bit of cortisol is good, right, to prime the immune system, your immune cells get very confused if it's over a long period of time, and they can get tired, as you see on the next part of this. They get weak and they're very sad, right? So this is a way that this is particularly to do with stress, and that we have to be very conscious about the managing of stress, especially in times like this, can really impact our immune system directly. This cortisol is closely tied to our sleep cycle, and that if you are having a short-term response to cortisol, that is perfect, that is fine, it's so healthy for your body. Your brain is working in perfect tandem with the body. but long term, you can really have some ill things. So it's important that, again, whatever goes on in here in our brains, the stress that we can sometimes hang on to and be carried by can really affect our immune cells when we're thinking of our day-to-day lives. So that's one of the axes that I talk about today. The second one is the gut-brain axis, all right? The gut-brain that the Guruji talks about sometimes. It's very, very exciting. It's good enough to have one nervous system, but a few years ago, we learned that there's a whole new element to the nervous system, and that's this gut-brain. And if I'll just draw your attention on the left-hand side there, if we start at the bottom, the arrow points to the good bacteria that's inside of our gut, inside of our intestines, all right? Those are all good. They serve a very fundamental purpose, and anytime we eat yogurt or anything that is probiotic, this is happy. It sings. It is beautiful. But again, if you look on the left, there's a lining of the gut. There's a wall. It's a physical barrier of cells that your body maintains, and it's very tightly. It controls the communication very, very clearly from what's coming out and into your gut and what is going in and back into the gut. So now that you're oriented a little bit where things are, how does what is going on in your brain influence your gut? And then how does that affect your immune system, right? So let's see the first part. Your brain, right, has a nerve, a vagus nerve. If we see on the next one, the vagus nerve is such an important part of the body. It is the only major nerve that comes from all the way here in your cranium and goes all the way down as one long signal going all the way down and into your gut, right? And it's innervating your whole intestinal system. It radiates out and listens to every little part of it through these enteric nerves that you see here at the bottom. And those nerves are sending out bioactive molecules. So we see on the next one, those bioactive molecules there. Again, that signal is being carried across. So when we are feeling positive, right, and we're feeling happy, we're feeling energized, we feel vibrant, stress levels are down, your vagus nerve is sending those positive bioactive molecules to your gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome says, all right, we feel good. And it responds in a very positive way. And it manages things very well directed. It doesn't get confused, and it can manage things very well. And even to the immune system on the next part, where it says B cells, cytokines, and a bunch of letters these are all important communicating. So the B cell is an important part of your immune system. And all of those chemicals that you see there on the left-hand side, they are signals. These chemicals, I don't see them as just chemicals. This is how your cells communicate. This is how they talk to each other, right? And that is saying for your gut to say clearly, we have a problem here, and we don't have a problem here. So your immune system remains in tune to where the issues are, so it can be very well directed. But again, if we have more negative signals coming down, your body gets flooded with those bioactive molecules. It gets flooded then with these communications. And it's almost like trying to carry on a conversation in a noisy room, right? I know we haven't been in a noisy room for a little while now, but if you remember, right, it's hard to hear sometimes what the person right next to you is saying. Your body has a very, very similar way of responding. And if it gets too much signals, too much communication, it can't hear when something actually is going wrong. But remember, you affect that. You impact that. What is going on here is affecting all the rest of this, right? So that is what is so exciting to me, because today we can be one way and tomorrow we can be inspired and say, I want to focus on my mood today. I want to focus on what's going on inside here today. And the changes are so quick. The changes can happen in just 12 hours. You can be impacting your cortisol levels, your gut microbiome, these bioactive molecules, and have a real time effect on these wonderful, wonderful parts of your body. So that is, it's just so exciting, these parts of your nervous system. And I think that when people really start to understand, a thought is not just a thought, right? A thought carries, and that's what we say, the integrative approach. And this is, again, this is why it excites me so much. A thought, a mood, an emotion are not intangible, things in the ether that only happen here and stay locked in a box. They move just like our energies move. It moves. And speaking of energy, when we move to the next part here and we talk about fever, especially, we revisit our friend, the hypothalamus. So your hypothalamus, you can think of it as the thermostat of your body, as well as doing all of the hormone releasing stuff that we spoke about. This is your thermostat. It's when you're too cold, it tells your body to make certain changes such that it warms up. And when it's too hot, it makes certain changes such that it cools down the body. The hypothalamus is in charge of all of that. But also, when you have an immune response, the hypothalamus has a very specific job. As I said, it's listening to everything going on in your immune system. So it knows, my immune cells need to be active now. So what happens is that it starts to heat up. It starts to create heat within the body. Why? This is how your immune cells function. Your immune cells function the best when it's a little bit warmer than normal body temperature rather than cooler than normal body temperature. And your hypothalamus kicks in perfectly. And that's why you have a fever, because it wants to help your immune cells. If we want to take this and relate it somewhat to my spiritual practice, I'm thinking, what is this like? And it spoke to me. It said, heat. This is so much like our rajas energy within our body. When we breathe into the belly and we try to excite that fire, that fiery energy, to that vitality core within us to revitalize the body, that's our energetic aspect. But the biology has its aspect too, where it has its own center of firepower here. And that's the hypothalamus. So if we see that we have the yogic practices, right, working, it's so similar to how the body works. This is why they are so integrated, right? Understanding how our body works, how the immune function works, is it works better with heat. Just as we function better when we are not, just completely, completely lifeless. We work better when we are energetic. We are able to contribute better when we are energetic. And that's what the hypothalamus can do. And that's why fever is not always indicative of disease and bad things. And I feel like sometimes the way the conversations can go, sometimes it carries that more negative connotation to it. If a fever gets too high, then that's okay. We can address that. The medical system and our other systems, alternative medicines, they have their way of addressing that. But it is very important. Fever is actually very good, very positive in a lot of ways. And I think that just opening the mind to that, again, just opening the mind and seeing it in a new light can really shape how we address this pandemic and this situation in total. So switching to a little bit more on the pandemic here is that the actual vaccines, the question is, what do they do and what do they not do? I think that's an important thing to address first. And on the left-hand side, you see how a natural virus works. a virus attaches itself to the cell, to a specific receptor that you see in bubble 1. And then 2, the viral DNA enters our system, right? Enters our cell. And what the virus does, it hijacks our body cells and says, okay, you don't work for your normal signals now, you work for me. You make everything I want to make. And that's what the virus does. It makes other little viruses because it cannot replicate on its own. It cannot replicate on its own. It needs a host. And then you have other packaged little viruses coming out of a cell. And that's how it infects someone. What the vaccine does is that you have especially the mRNA vaccines. I know that can be confusing for some people. What does that exactly mean? You see in the first portion here that it connects to your cell, integrates with the cell, but instead of bringing any part of the virus or thing, it's actually just a sequence. It's just a communication, right? A little signal there to tell the cell, okay, instead of making like how the virus is saying, make the whole part of me so I can rule, so I can hijack things. It says, we're not hijacking anything within this cell, but just make the signal. Rather than making the white circles that you see there and the red squiggles that you see there on the left, it says, why don't you only make the blue dots? Only make the blue dots. That's the only instruction the vaccine is asking your cell to do. Make the blue dots. And what happens is the blue dots then start to express on the outside of your normal cells. The importance of this is, think of that as a warning sign to your immune system. There's 2 ways to warn someone about something. You can show them, hey, be careful of this phone, right? And I can give you the phone and say, watch out for it, right? Or instead of that, I can show you a picture of the phone. And then I'm saying, look out for this. I'm not giving you the actual phone, and that's what a vaccine does. A vaccine is a photocopy, a completely inert part of the virus that we get.
Yeah,
And
let me just ask you a question.
Sure, Guru.
Yeah, now, in terms of vaccines, that the vaccine of today is not the same as the vaccine of yesteryear.
Correct. Absolutely 100% correct.
And what is it in the vaccine of today that makes it perhaps more safe than of yesteryear, or that it acts differently?
Wonderful question, Guru. Thank you so much for that. Is that the old viruses, the old vaccines that used to exist, they used to give you what is known as a dead virus, right? So the dead virus is going into your body, and your immune system is seeing the dead virus and treating it like a live virus. It doesn't know that it's dead, right? Your immune system has no knowledge of that. So it will launch a full immune response to that. Whereas this is just priming. This is just telling your cells, watch out for this, cautioning them. Your immune cells do not destroy your normal cells. They will just see that signal and react to it. Oh, we have to be on alert for that. We're now looking for that. We're not destroying anything. We're not dissolving anything. We're just on high alert now because our body has told us to be on alert for this because it doesn't seem normal. And that's how this vaccine is responding to the COVID virus right now. So it's different from the viruses in the 90s and 80s, especially, that were predominantly dead portions of the virus, of actual viruses that existed.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If we don't take the virus, how is the body going to respond to if we don't take the vaccine, how is the body going to respond if the virus were to enter?
Again, wonderful question, Guru. So what happens is, if you're not vaccinated, if we can bring up the slide back again, really quick. The vaccines, what do they do, Sai? Perfect. And so the vaccine, as I said, the vaccine says, look out for the blue dots, right? The blue dots is what we're focused on here. And everyone starts to tune into the blue dots. So that the blue dots can't even enter the body system and cause any sort of infection. But if someone who is not vaccinated, right, your immune system can say, instead of the blue dots, okay, we make for the white hexagons there, or the red squiggles there. It starts to create a response to different portions of the virus, right? Which leads to different periods of infection if you're not vaccinated, right? Your immune system launches a response, right? But it creates that message, that caution to your body using different markers of the virus and not always the blue dots. The blue dots are by far, in the scientific lab, is the most effective way to keep the virus out and stay out, right? It's the quickest way to shove it out of the body. And it takes longer for each other component to kick in and for the immune system to actually respond.
Let me ask you another question. Now, in terms of what you're saying, that the vaccine brings in the blue dots or trains the cell to recognize the virus. Sometimes we don't know when we make things artificial what side effects it will have. And so far in vaccine, there need to be trials so we can look for any kind of adverse effects or other side effects. So how can we trust that these vaccines, they have not been exhaustively tested, that they may have side effects that we do not yet know? How do we deal with that?
That is a very real and honest concern that so many people have, Guru. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. That this virus in and of itself is what's known as a SARS virus. It's like a family name, like how you have a last name, I have a last name. The SARS is this virus's last name. There are many other family members in it, and it's related, right? That's the wonderful thing about last names and family names. It usually means that they're related. So there's a genetic component that is similar between you and your parents, right? Same thing for this virus. There's a similarity between this virus and specifically MERS virus that came up a couple years ago. So while this particular version of SARS, this COVID-2, is existing and the vaccine, the reason why the vaccine was able to turn around so quickly is because there was a MERS vaccine already developed. So researchers then said, okay, we take this one and we can modify it slightly, right? And we have 2 years of testing with MERS, at least, of MERS vaccine. We take versions of that and see what is most effective in tackling this one. The genetic code of the virus, how it makes everything, is so similar to MERS. It was within the first month. So really things shut down March of last year. By April of last year, they fully understand the whole genetic code of the virus. 1 month is all it took to really understand what differences it had and all of that stuff, and already start working on the vaccine from there.
Okay, so you're saying that we have had also extensive testing because of the SARS and relationship to the SARS virus. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, the other question is, because we are also different, some of us may have more compromised immune system than others. And so do we all need to take the vaccine? Because if we have strong immune systems, and do we really need to take the vaccine, or is it those with weak immune systems who might need this kind of additional help that a vaccine can bring?
For sure. Again, a very, very common question. And I'm so happy that it's being asked, because for those with a compromise who may have pre-existing conditions or whatever it might be. It's very important on that level. There's looking at it on an individual level. And then we have people with compromised immune systems, strong immune systems, and so on. But that leaves out part of the story, how a virus works. A virus, as I said, hijacks your body cells. It has no means of replicating itself. And it's horrible at replicating itself. Horrible at it. It makes all sorts of mistakes when trying to create new viruses. Those mistakes actually cause mutations. That's when you hear the word mutant. There are mutant other strains, the Brazil strain, the UK strain, and so on. You hear about these mutant strains. That's what it means. The virus doesn't intentionally do it. It does it by accident, right? Because it's horrible at doing its job. But that's what the vaccine is aiming to avoid. And that's why it's suggested and recommended that even healthy people with strong immune systems take the vaccine to, as I said, the vaccine is keep out and stay out.
Right,
so
but
that's have that opportunity to mutate.
But that's an opinion, right? Because some people might feel that they have the power to be and stay immune. Now, tell me something, because I believe in the principle: as you think, so you become. As you believe, so you become. So, is it possible then, with a quantum kind of energy of the mental space, that those of us who are powerful in mind can stave off the virus? Now, this is a personal question and it's a spiritual question.
Absolutely. It is. And again, that is, I want to be pretty clear there that is from my spiritual experience and my personal opinion is that is a complete and total possibility. That is something that could transpire. That is absolutely my take on that.
My take is that if you're fearful, then all the more reason to get support, right? Because if you're fearful that your immune system can handle this, then you might look for support, right? But if you have that mind power and that belief that you can handle it, then chances are you can build a strong immunity just using the quantum space.
Well, we've seen people recover from cancer and also fourth stage cancer and all sorts of things, and that's why I said that is my opinion on that. Is that people have staved off, in my opinion, things that have a much worse prognosis than the COVID virus using that space. Again, it is the only thing is that for combating the virus itself and making sure that they're staving off the mutations, and because one wrong mutation could unravel a lot of things that have been going into the works for the past year.
Yeah. So next question for you. If the vaccine targets a certain variant, what about other variants?
Right now, fortunately, knock on all the wood that is possible, thank God, that there is no mutation right now that has dramatically influenced those blue dots, as I've called them, right? There is no significant change in those blue dots that would render the vaccine ineffective. They are still extraordinarily highly effective. So while we're missing with the mutants so far, we are missing that. It's a chance. It's a chance each time the virus mutates. So the vaccine is being rolled out such that chance is brought down, right? That we keep those odds at astronomical ends and not into likelihoods.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. So now we're going to bring you back again, but questions are coming up in the chat here. And would you mind us contacting you directly, people who may have questions that we can leave?
Absolutely. What I will do is in the chat, I'm going to put my email, because I forgot to include it on the top part of my presentation. And I apologize.
So you can do that in a while. But what would be your last word? Because I need to go to the other presentations. But what would be your last word to us from what you believe and also what you've learned?
My last word would be is that we want to make sure that as much as we live consciously and that we act and breathe and everything consciously, it is the same way that we can be vaccinated consciously as well. That what we are bringing into, if we choose to go that route, to be vaccinated, what is happening in our mental space, I think has, from my own personal experience, dramatically influenced how my prognosis then went afterwards in the days that followed. Absolutely. And the spiritual teachings are there and helped me significantly in that recovery period. And I think it just has a tremendous effect on who we are and what we are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eddie. It's been a joy having you on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for leaving your email address that people can connect with you. And we look forward to seeing you in the Healing Circle perhaps next week if your time permits. And to
For
continue.
sure. Happy to be there again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening well and for sending in your little questions on the chat. So we'll now go to our next presentation, and we're going to have Anupriya from our New York Center. She's been in the field of energy medicine. And so we want to listen to her as she speaks about building the immunity using acupressure. And so let's listen to Anupriya.
Namaskar, Guruji. Namaskar, everyone. I join you today from New York. My name is Anupriya Lorik, and I am very happy and pleased to be part of this Be Well, Stay Well series. I'm very pleased to share with you a few body and mind hacks today, little techniques that can help you to create harmony and create balance in your body, in your mind, in your entire system. Hacks that would help to boost your immune system, helping you to be well and stay well. So let's start our journey. Donna Eden, one of the masters that I was trained under, talks about 9 energy systems. So we're going to focus a little bit on triple warmer and the meridians, because those are also systems that really impact our immune system. Of course, all of them do, the chakras and all of them, they're interrelated. But we'll focus on just a couple today. Here you'll see, and I want you to just get a picture in your mind of how the meridians operate in your body, right? So they run from the top of our head all the way down to the base of our feet. And so there are many, many different points along the way. So some meridians may have from 9 points or acupressure points all the way to 67 points. So tapping along these points, tracing along these points, help to activate the meridians, help to move energy through the meridians. So as you will see here, the 12 meridians, but they're in Chinese medicine, it's really 14. The other 2 are our central and our governing meridians, which we will know in the chakra system as that central meridian here, or the pathway of energy that flows from the pubic area all the way up to the top of our head. And so these are the 14 meridians, really, if you add those 2 on. The central and governing meridians are not closely related to any particular organ, because as you know, in the chakra system, they actually operate throughout all the organs, and they bring energy and they help energy to leave the body through these 2 meridians, and they just cover all organs. So they're not connected to any particular one of them. However, the other 12 meridians are closely related to organs as indicated by their names. So of course, these 12 major organs in our bodies. So if these meridian systems are not operating optimally, then you will experience some impact on those organs and other organs, because you will also learn today how these meridians are connected from one to the next, how one feeds the other in terms of energy, and how one receives energy from the other as well. So again, this picture just gives you a body shot of what the meridian lines look like in your own body. So when you are tapping or you are connecting to these meridians in your body, just have an idea of how they run through the arms, through the legs, the back, the front, all the way up to the head, the face, the ears, right? They run through our entire body. Like a river flow, the meridians is very changing and its fluctuations can be detected. Acupuncture points are on the surface of the skin, but the meridians open into and travel deep into the body through each of the organs and muscle groups. Your meridians are your body's energy bloodstream. Each of the 14 meridians actually is a segment of one single energy pathway that runs throughout the body, surfacing 14 times and appearing as 14 segments. But it is one string of energy that runs throughout the entire body. Okay, so here we have what we call the Chinese body clock. And the Chinese body clock is really the meridian cycle. The meridian cycle just shows that, as I mentioned earlier, we have 14 meridians, 12 meridians that are associated with direct organs, just as their name indicates. So if, for instance, I'm just going to give you a for instance, the stomach meridian is active at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then the stomach meridian feeds the spleen meridian, which is active at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And the spleen supports metabolism, and it converts nutrients that we eat from breakfast, from the stomach time, right? The 7 to 9, it converts that energy, it breaks it down into energy. And of course, that energy then gets moved to the body and we're able to function and do the things that we need to do. The spleen has also very important functions, as we know, and we've been hearing a lot about. It fights invading germs in the blood, right? The spleen contains infection-fighting white blood cells. So we need the spleen to function well in order to fight off this COVID-19 and any other invader into our bodies. It controls the level of blood cells, whether white blood cells and red blood cells, as well as the platelets. So it has a controlling element. It also filters the blood and removes any old or damaged or red blood cells. And this happens through the lymphatic system. The spleen, when it's not working properly, it may start to remove healthy blood cells. It can lead to anemia, which reduces your red blood cells, increase the risk of infection from a reduced number of white blood cells, which is what is happening with a lot of people, especially during this time of COVID. So when we talk about alarm points and being able to use different alarm points in our bodies to detect whether or not something is off in our bodies, that spleen point that they're talking about here is one of those alarm points that if it is tender or it feels painful, then it means that that spleen organ needs some attention, and we can use the spleen meridian to give it some more energy. So spleen is active. It's most active at its peak, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I wanted to show you this particular model because it shows how each of the meridians feed the other, and each of the meridians receives energy from the one before. So spleen receives energy from stomach. Spleen feeds heart. Heart then feeds small intestine, and so on. And triple warmer is responsible for the thyroid, right, which is also responsible for, responsible for the adrenals, for the temperature in the body, metabolic activity, energy transfer. It activates the body into some sort of response, right, to stay and fight or to run away. Right. And so that's that adrenaline. It comes from the triple warmer. So we really need to have that most active in the right way. So if you notice spleen and triple warmer, they are opposite each other on the body clock. So when spleen is at its peak in the morning, triple warmer is actually subdued. Right. So it's at its weakest point at that time, because that's how the meridians work. When one is at its height, one tends to be, it balances, right? So both can't be heightened at the same time. One is peaked, one is low. So because there's a indirect or a direct correlation. When you think of your stomach is in the middle of the body, right? It is a powerhouse, a source of where we store energy, right? We know this from the chakra system, from Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts, right? The stomach is an extremely important area in our body. And so if that area is not functioning well, it prevents energy from moving downwards and it may prevent energy or may have too much energy moving back upwards, right? So that impacts the organs above, and it impacts the organs and the functionality we need below the waist as well. So that's why this clock is important. So this is just another picture of that. And each one of these figures here represent a meridian and how it flows in our body. And today I'm going to teach you how to tap or trace our triple warmer meridian, tap or trace our spleen meridian. So just talking about our immune system just a little bit. And how it operates at the physical levels. And it requires the thymus. So we're going to do some tapping on the thymus as well. It requires the spleen, the lymph, and the bone marrow. And it is ruled by two energy systems, as we've been talking about. One is the triple warmer. So immune system is ruled by triple warmer. And also radiant circuits. Radiant circuits is another energy system that I mentioned at the beginning, and triple warmer is sometimes considered as a radiant circuit as well. And what that means is that the radiant circuits in our bodies really carry energy wherever our body needs it. And so that's the operating principle there. Triple warmer prepares our body for war, and the war is fighting off all these different invaders, whether it's bacteria or, any sort of, like in this case, COVID, that anything that doesn't belong in our system, anything that comes whether through food or the environment that attacks our system, then of course, triple warmer is ready to act. It is called our inner army, right? So the immune system, triple warmer, it's at a cellular level of the immune system. With its lymphocytes and thymocytes and memory B cells and helper and killer T cells, antigens, antibodies, right? All these things. It's a military display that's dazzling when you think about it in its design, complexity, intelligence. The energy of the triple warmer and radiant circuits is enormous. Triple warmer's job is to keep the body alive and keep it well. The immune system faces unprecedented challenges in finding a balance between maintaining a strong protective force versus spiraling into overkill and self-destruction. Our immune system sometimes tend to actually attack our own cells. So sometimes it becomes so overprotective that it self-destructs. So that's why it's so important for us to find ways in which to create that balance for our immune system. So we need to do things consciously in order to make sure that we're activating the triple warmer appropriately, and that we're responding to our immune system's needs in the best way. And it joins forces as well with the ancient and pre-programmed back brain centers, which controls our immune system. So together they can counter the most convoluted hazards the body has to face and has ever faced, and in this case, the pandemic of COVID. Triple warmer has to walk a fine line between overprotecting and underprotecting. Internalized fight, flight, and freeze responses occur, as I said before. Immune deficiency disorders, triple warmer has gone into retreat when those things happen. So when you find people who have immune deficiency disorders, it means that triple warmer is not, it's now very subdued and it's not active. And so that immune system is not activated to provide the protections that is needed. Conscious action is required if we are to retrain our immune system, and if we are to retrain it quickly enough. We must consciously effect a revolution. So when danger is all around, we live in a crowded world with stresses all around us, and we can neither run away nor overcome with brute force, with all the foods and chemicals, electromagnetic fields, pollutants, viruses that's impacting us. We can't go anywhere. So triple warmer is like an army abusing its authority to protect at all costs. For your health, triple warmer ignites fevers and infections to fight disease. For your safety, triple warmer prompts the release of adrenaline to meet any emergency. The triple warmer meridian sometimes is in a state of perpetual emergency, keeping immune system, circulatory system, and nervous system spinning among flight, fight, and freeze responses. To interrupt this continuous state of emergency, we need to retrain our hypothalamus to think that we are safe, which then tends to bring down the triple warmer response. So we need to reprogram triple warmer as it is an inner police. It is chief inner police working overtime when we are out of control. So reprogramming our immune system starts with adjusting our attitudes. We must enter conscious partnering with triple warmer, having love and compassion for ourselves. So the immune system has tremendous memory. It has recognition. It has the ability to discriminate. It anticipates things. It's learning and it's self-organizing itself in order to respond to what's needed. The immune system is so dynamic and so marvelous that it also responds to how we respond to life in general. So that's something that we need to think about. So the immune system starts to have that same type of patterning. If we tend to be overreactive and we tend to be very anxious and we tend to be very nervous and angry at times, our immune system also starts to adjust to how we react to the world. So it's really important when we think about our immune system to think about the attitude, our emotional state, and how we respond to things every day, because that means immune system is going to be overactive, underactive, based on our own body patternings as well. So it's just something really subtle, but something that we all need to really think about. Let's practice, shall we?
So 2 things that you can also do to activate energies and the flow of energies in these meridians is by paying attention and, just activating the tips of them, right? So let's start with our triple warmer. So triple warmer starts at our index finger, at the tip of our index finger. And remember what we said, we're going to use the palm facing hand and place it over. This also allows you to, if you're a little bit off on where the actual meridian is, you'll capture the whole thing if you use your entire hand. So you don't have to memorize the exact points. So we start at the index finger. And again, with intentionality, which is extremely important, it's about what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? So you're increasing the flow of triple warmer, especially in these times, because you need it to really balance to help you respond to everything that's happening around you. So triple warmer goes on the outside of the arm and it goes up the shoulder. I'll just turn here. It goes up the neck, the back of the ears, and it comes over the ear and it ends on the temple. So let's do that again. Tracing from the tip of the finger, the index finger, on the outer part of the arm, to the back of the shoulder, up the neck, go to the back of the ears, over the ears, and then we're ending right at the triple warmer ending point. So if you wanted to just activate, you can play with your index fingers, right, on both sides. That's the tip. And you can rub also the ending point of triple warmer, which is at the side of both of your eyes by the temple. And you're going to do that on both sides. So one more time, do it a little bit quicker, all the way up, around, and you end. And then you'll do the same thing on the other side, because obviously we have these meridians run on both sides. So you can do that about 3 times each time you do it. And again, you press in a little bit. You can do it off the body. Remember, as the hands move, the energy is moving. So you want to be able to also center and really bring intentionality into the technique. The other one, and so you can also tap, right? So you can tap along. A little tap here, and you can tap the side of the temples, right? And again, same on the other side. And if there's any area that you feel you need to stay a little bit longer, then you can do that. And you can even tap the ending points, and you can play with the starting points. So that's your triple warmer. And while it's very simple, we talked about how complex and how much it actually brings to the essential functioning of our immune system, the essential functioning of our bodies. The other one is spleen. So you want to, for all the reasons that we said before and how important the spleen is, we want to be able to do and to have the energies flow through our spleen meridian the same way we do with triple warmer and the others. So I don't know if you can see the base of my feet. So where I am here is I'm actually going down to the outer part of my big toe. So that's right on the outer part of my big toe. And I'm going to trace up the inner part of my leg all the way up, right? So I'm just showing you so that you can have a visual, because you're not going to see my feet here. So I'm going to start at the outer part of my big toe, and I'm going to come up on the inner part of my leg. So spleen, let's go down. So take your time. And again, if you can't do this standing up, you can do this sitting on a chair as well. So I am down, I am touching the outer part of my big toe. I am tracing up the inner part of my leg. I come up to my hip. I flare out just a little bit. I come up under my armpits, and then I come down just below, sort of like where the breastbone is on the outer part, right? And that's where spleen ends. And I'm going to tap in there. Now, this is also one of those alarm points that you want to activate. So you always take a moment to just give spleen some more energy. Spleen needs as much energy as it can get to keep it active. Yeah? Okay, so let's do that one more time. Big toe, outer end, all the way up, tracing on the inner part of the leg, flare out at the hip, come up under the armpits, and then down about 4 inches, and just on the outer side of the breastbone, at the tip of the rib cage, that's where spleen ends. Now, what you can also do is, we talked about alarm points. Remember, we said it's right under the breastbone here. So that's another area that you can also just spend some time massaging in, tapping, rubbing. That area also activates. That's also an alarm point, right? So if it's a little bit sore or tender, you keep rubbing it there, the energy will start moving, and over time, it should be less sore or less painful. One of the things, so that is, and again, with spleen, you can do the same tapping methodology. So you can start at the toe. Right? So you can do that as well to activate and move the energy throughout the body. I'm going to also talk about the 4 thumbs. We have done this in past sessions that I've had with you. And the 4 thumbs does include the spleen, but it also includes the thymus. And we need the thymus as well for the immunity system. It also needs the stomach and the good functioning of the stomach. So remember, we talked about how stomach meridian feeds the spleen meridian. So to activate the stomach and to create the stomach, one of our points for the stomach is actually up here, right by our cheekbone. So we're going to tap into the cheekbone. And usually you're doing this and you're breathing in and you're breathing out. So you really and the next point is our K27. K27 is the ending of our kidney. So kidney starts underneath the base of our feet, which is kidney 1, and kidney 27 or K27 ends right here by the collarbone. If you just feel for it, there's a little bit of a sink or indentation by the collarbone. That's your K27. So we're going to tap into that as well. So these 4 thumbs help to keep the body grounded. When we are nervous and fearful, when we are going through some anxiety, and there's just so much going on in our lives, we need to be grounded. And so using or tapping these areas will help to keep us balanced. It will help to get us more grounded. And of course, the next tapping point is going to be our thymus, which is right by the sternum, in between the 2 breastbones, or in between the breastbone right here. So of course, this is also needed for our immune system, right? Helps us to be grounded, helps to also move things out and through the body, helps to create the chemicals that we need for the functioning of our immune system. So that's your thymus. And then the 4th thumb is, of course, the spleen. So this is great, as I said, again, for reducing anxiety, for creating balance and harmony in the system, for activating your stomach cells, also the thymus here and the spleen, which is all needed for fighting off what we're all dealing with right now throughout the world. Another thing that's really simple is what you would call a triple warmer smoothie. So triple warmer smoothie is actually what happens when we are over anxious a lot. When we've gone through lots and lots of stresses, sometimes the meridians can also become flooded. And so a triple warmer smoothie is actually flushing the triple warmer. So when there's lots of over anxiety, and we know that we have probably sent our entire body out of whack, way to calm the triple warmer is also to do the what we would call like flushing, but tracing it backwards. So you would start here at the side of your temples, deep breath in, exhaling, and the next inhalation with a little bit of pressure, you move up over the ear, breathing in, exhaling, pressing in around the ear, breathing out, breathing in. Spend a little time pressing into the neck and the shoulders, breathing in and out. And your next exhalation, bring your hands to rest right by your heart, one on top of the other. So that helps to calm when you're anxious and a lot of fear, a lot of pain and suffering. It means that we're overactivating our triple warmer to help respond to that inner reaction. So you want to calm it down, and you can do that 3 times as well. So that's called a triple warmer smoothie. A triple warmer hug, which you can do for yourself to also calm you. You can do this while you're sitting anywhere that you are. So remember when we traced our triple warmer, we did this. So we went on the outside here of the arm. So if you were to literally, you can place one hand over your heart. You can even just cradle your arms on both sides. So you're touching triple warmer points. And you can just actually give yourself a nice triple warmer hug. You can do that. Anywhere along that line, you're activating triple warmer points. So that's another nice technique for just to give yourself a hug when you're going through a whole lot, which all of you are doing now. So if you practice a few of these things, and there's so much that I can teach you about this, but these things in and of itself will help you to be well and stay well. If you are not well, you want to do this very, very often as you can. If you're well for the most part and you want to maintain or prevent illness, then you can do this a couple times a day, or at least even 1 time a day. But as much as you can do this, it helps to move the energy. And these things are not permanent fixes, because we are constantly going through all sorts of turmoil in our lives. We're constantly faced with, unprecedented things like COVID-19. So we need to keep the energies flowing in our bodies optimally, as regulated as possible. Creating balance and harmony so that all our organs are also functioning well. And in order to do that, we need to do all these things energetically to keep moving. The more we do these little techniques, as I call them hacks at the very beginning, right? Little hacks of the mind, little hacks of the body system, you will be well and you will stay well. So namaskar, thank you. It's been wonderful serving you today.
Thank you so much, Anupriya. That was absolutely wonderful. We look forward to more of it, and it's really marvelous that we can learn about the meridians, how important they are, and to learn the practice of tapping. So I really do appreciate that. So now we will take you straight away to Sri Devi and for her presentation, and we hope that you've been enjoying the sessions so far. So we hand you over to Sri Devi.
Test, test. Namaskar again, everyone. and welcome to our yoga component of the Healing Circle. I know you have been looking and listening for quite a while, so I just want to thank you for joining me for some exciting exercises. The topic for this session is the practice of Anulom Vilom, or alternate nostril breathing. Last week, we had explored many different practices of pranayama to help boost the immune system, but today we are going to zone in to alternate nostril breathing. So, in Sanskrit, Anulom Vilom means flowing with the natural grain. And if we look at this exercise, we are balancing some major systems in the body in order to come back to that base state in our nervous system, or of optimal health. And that is specifically why this exercise is so good for boosting the immune system. As I had mentioned last week, as we breathe into the left side of the body, we also call it the Ida in spiritual science, we are working to tap into the cooling side of our system. So that is the system that comes when we want to retreat or come into repose, or simply when we want to relax. This is the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, conversely, when we breathe in through the right side of the body, we are tapping into this system that allows us to act and to do. So it can also trigger a stress response and tap into the sympathetic nervous system that encourages our will, or that wants us to move and to act. So when we breathe, we are working on truly balancing both of these major energy systems within the body. When we come into a state of perfect balance, our nervous system is in the best shape. So, in yogic science, we know that we are tapping into 3 major energy channels. That is Ida, so on the left side, which is the cooling current in our system. And that is Pingala, which is the heating system or heating current in our energy system. Now, if you see, these flow in a type of circuit that surround each of the chakras in our system. And these move on the central energy channel, which is the Sushumna. So as we breathe and we're taking in this fresh energy, this prana, and we see the current circulating, they manifest physically through our nostrils. So, Anulom Vilom, as you can see, will work, yes, physically as we take in fresh oxygen into our system, but also energetically as we balance the cooling and the heating energies in the body. So we have a great opportunity to boost our nervous system in a huge way, not only physically, but also energetically. This practice of Anulom Vilom is not a simple one. It has many layers to it and huge benefits, which we will practice and that you will be able to experience in this session. So, we will begin with our first practice, which is called Sukha Pranayam, and it's under the umbrella of Anulom Vilom. Sukha literally means at ease. Sukha Pranayam means breathing at ease. So in our typical understanding of Anulom Vilom, we know that we breathe in through one side, we exhale through the other, inhale through one side, and exhale conversely. In Sukha Pranayam, we are giving ourselves the chance with total awareness to feel the breath come up through both nostrils. Now, this gives us a good indication of which channel is operating more at a certain time. So if you know that your cooling system is activated more, perhaps at the end of the practice, you will feel that the heating system also comes into balance. But this is a good exercise to see if both are balanced or if one is operating more than the other. Okay? So as we do this practice, we start by sitting up nice and tall. And just for a moment, become aware of the body. Our palms are facing up, fingers can be relaxed. We are relaxed as we sit. Now, as we breathe, and we take a nice deep inhale, imagine that we are doing so with evenness in our consciousness. And as we exhale, we do so through both nostrils. This is an exercise in our awareness. And of what is happening in our system. Can you feel that one side is a bit more active than the other? Let's do this for a few more rounds. And when you are ready, you can relax. A huge component of breathing with this type of slowness and awareness is that when we take in breath in this way, yes, we are encouraging our energy channels, but in a physiological sense, inhaling oxygen into our nostrils, they pass through all of the filters and the fibers in our nostrils that actually clean the air before coming down into our lungs. So if you notice, by breathing slowly and deeply and with a lot of awareness, we are actually taking extremely clean oxygen into our lungs. So just an added benefit of doing these exercises in this way. So the second component, or another benefit to Anulom Vilom, is doing the breathing with a concentration on one side. So if we take our left side breathing, this is called Chandra Bhedana. And the term Bhedana means to pierce. So if we think of only breathing into the left side, we are piercing the moon chakra that it activates, and also activating everything that allows our system to relax. For example, if we have high blood pressure, if we have high anxiety, if we are suffering from things like insomnia, left side breathing, Chandra Bhedana, can help with a lot of these things. So to do this, we close our right nostril, and here we can use our thumb and index finger. So with my thumb, I'm going to close my right nostril. And I'm going to begin by inhaling on my left. I close the left, and I exhale on the right. Now I only continue inhaling on my left, and exhaling on my right. Let's explore this practice together. Remembering that these are components of calming our system. Only inhale on the left. Exhale on the right. Let's see if we can notice the calming effect on our system. Just a few more rounds. And when you are ready, you can relax. It's important here that you take a moment just to observe how you feel. And here you can notice if there's a difference in how you are breathing in this moment. And a good way to check which nostril is active, which channel, is by placing our fingers underneath both nostrils. And when you exhale, you can see if they are even or if one is more dominant. Okay, just a little exercise for you to check. Now, coming to Surya Vedana, the piercing of this heating energy in our system. Now, this has many benefits. For example, if we want to heighten our digestion, speeding up our metabolism, increasing our blood pressure if we have low blood pressure in the body, and increasing our overall vitality. So, we can do this by taking our index finger and starting to close our left nostril. Let's inhale through the right. Close the right, and we only exhale through the left. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Let's do this for a few rounds. Notice what is happening in our system. Perhaps you even feel more heat in the body. Few more rounds. And when you are ready, you can relax. Just take a moment to observe. And for some of you, you might even feel that at this point, you are quite balanced in both nostrils. Again, you can always do a little bit of a check. Beautiful. Okay. For our final component of Anulom Vilom, we will practice Nadi Shuddhi. And something that is very important to keep in mind here is that the breath retention makes this exceptional. So of course we know the inhaling and the exhaling happens on both sides. But if we inhale, we pause. And as we pause, they say to pause for a count of 4. Before exhaling again, and also pausing for a count of 4. So what makes retention so special? So again, in our physiology, when we retain the breath, especially for a longer period of time, that retained breath is seeping in to the passage that surrounds the air sacs. And conversely, it goes deeper into the blood vessels. So we're actually supercharging the blood vessels with a huge amount of oxygen as we hold the breath. And this is what signals the brain to keep breathing, which of course is paramount to our survival. So when we retain the breath and we hold, we are supercharging our system with a huge amount of oxygen. So let's see how this feels for us. We will do only a few rounds and really feel the benefits of being balanced with the breath retention as a component. Okay? So sitting comfortably. We can navigate here between our thumb and ring finger. Let's go ahead and start with closing our right nostril. We exhale through the left. Now, when you complete your exhale, you hold for a count of 4. Inhale through the left. Hold. Closing the left, exhale through the right. And hold. Inhale through the right. Hold. Exhale through the left. Hold. Inhale through the left. Hold. Exhale through the right. Hold. Inhale through the right. Hold. Exhale through the left. And hold. We'll just do one more round. Inhale through the left. Hold. Exhale through the right. And hold. Inhale through the right. Hold. And exhale through the left. And hold. When you are ready, you can release. Just observe for a moment. Notice if in your system you feel more balanced, if the air is even flowing better, if you feel different. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for these practices. I truly hope that you practice this on your own time and you continue to feel the effects of these amazing yogic practices. They really do help in maintaining a strong immune system and even boosting. I will now hand you back to Guruji to continue the session. Namaskar, everyone.
Namaskar, everyone, and thank you so much, Sridevi, for taking us through that routine of balancing the left and right brain and also revitalizing the nervous system. As you can see, the time has been extended, so I'm going to do a short guided meditation today, healing meditation. Bringing you into that space where we can tap into the healing energies of our spiritual being. So those of you who are from Holland or Romania or Ireland, please bear with us a little bit as we know it's quite late. But stay with us just for a few minutes more as I take you into a most beautiful space before you go to bed, before you retire for the night. I said in my meditation this morning, if you had seen it, that a merry heart doeth like medicine. From the Bible, Proverbs, a merry heart doeth like medicine. From a very young person, that really struck me. That if we are happy, if we are merry, if we are glad, that it just lifts our immune system, it boosts our energy, and we feel so much better. And it says a broken spirit drieth the bones. And we can see people who are lonely and sad and desperate and broken. We see how what happens to their immune system and to their vitality and to their how they look. But our spirit can keep us continuously happy, energized, uplifted. There's nothing like tapping into our spiritual being, the quantum space. That's my joy for existence, that I can center in there and I can tap into the amazing energies of the quantum space. And what is beautiful about the quantum space is that you can make a change in an instant. That's how miraculous healing happens. In an instant, you can shift into a space that can nourish you so completely. And what is even more beautiful is your existence in me and my existence in you, which allows me to hold you in my field, and you hold me in your field, and this amazing energy field is created that nourishes all of us. So join me now in a few minutes of this beautiful practice of healing meditation. So let's center in that infinite source. And you can do that with me, because that's where I'm centering. Just let go of the thought patterns, emotional patterns. They're only constructs in the energy space. Allow yourself to center in that infinite space of being. Ever blissful, ever free. The source of all energy within you. The source of all peace. The source of all love. Source of all prana, vitality, life force. And we start today by breathing into the heart. That's what the thymus gland is. That's where our heart, physical heart is, that pumps blood through the whole system. That's where our lungs are, that bring oxygen that is vital to the entire system for oxidation. Just come into that space and allow yourself to rest in spirit. Hold the awareness that my ego is only an instrument. Of this incredible source. To breathe into the heart space. Opening yourself to that connection with spirit. And as you breathe out, allow that energy that you're breathing out to flow through the entire body. As it flows through the hands, warming the hands, let it flow through the entire body as a wave, a ripple of energy that brings warmth through every part of your being. And this is where a merry spirit do it like medicine. That's happiness. Allow yourself to break into a smile, a gentle smile if you will, smiling with all of you. Your emotional self, your vital self, your mental self. Allow yourself to just be pleasant. And here I will affirm, because it's in my heart, I love you, my body. You're God's gift to me. I love you, my every cell. You're so precious to me. When I say that, I let this beautiful wave of energy ripple through my entire body. I'm centered in the gut, which puts me in greater touch with the cells of my body. I'm centered in the emotional space, which brings this beautiful wave of healing energy through my entire body. And I'm centered in the mental space that holds my entire body in a field of prana. I love you, my body. You're God's gift to me. I love you, my every cell. You're so precious to me. And I breathe in. I love you, my body. You're God's gift to me. I love you, my every cell. You're so precious to me. And just breathe into the gut area. Especially those of you who are going to bed after this, just breathe into the gut area and allow your body to be nourished. Because as you leave here, those of you who are retiring, if you carry the energy of balance, that will stay with you throughout your sleep. A little meditation like this is beautiful before retiring. And resonate with whichever mantra that lifts you. It can be Om Guru, if you're focused on the Guru principle. It can be Soham, you and I are one, or infinite self. It can be just Om. Let it resonate in your consciousness. And again, stay in that gladness of being. That every breath you take be a breath of love. And each time you breathe out, let love flow through your being as much as you can. The space is filled with it. And allow yourself to get into the rhythm of the breath. Let all of you be embracing the rhythm of the breath. Slow, even breathing, conscious breathing. No haste. And because I'm so in love with the Guru principle, I'm just going to repeat Om Guru. Om Guru as you breathe in. Om Guru as you breathe out. Om Guru. 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 And now I'm going to chant Mahamrutyunjaya mantra for you. From that space, you can join me. Mentally or vocally. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. I meditate in you, O Infinite One. Sugandham Pushti Vardhanam. May your pranas restore me and allow me to thrive. Urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityur mokshiya. Free me from all unhealthy attachments and disease, and free me from the consciousness of mortality. Mamritad. Grant me immortality. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. I meditate in you, O Infinite One. Sugandham Pushti Vardhanam. Let your pranas, the fragrance of your pranas, nourish me and make me thrive. Urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityur mokshiya. Free me from all unhealthy attachments and disease, and free me from mortal consciousness. Ma'amritad. Grant me immortal consciousness, deathless consciousness. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. I meditate in you, O Infinite One, all-knowing One. Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. That the fragrance of your pranas nourish me and make me thrive. Urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityor mokshya. Free me from all unhealthy attachments and disease, and even the consciousness of mortality. Mamritat, Mamritat, Mamritat. Grant me the experience of deathless consciousness, where all healing energies come from. Om Shanti, peace. Shanti, peace. Shanti, peace. Welcome back, everyone. So thank you for staying up with me, those of you who are in the early time zone. Thank you so much. I appreciate your presence. Your presence makes a difference. Each one of you makes a difference. As you can see, I'm exploring the healing circle. I'm looking forward to making these sessions the best that can be, to suit you and your well-being. And I'm going to continue to work on it, to experiment with it until it becomes what we need, what we want, and what can uplift us. So I have new programs that are going to come on, but I'm not going to speak to it today. I'll speak to it another day. But just to say, I'll be in Guru Gita tomorrow morning. Guruvar, it's a day of the Guru. So I'll be with you in the morning tomorrow, and then every Thursday morning I'm going to be with you, as with every Sunday morning. And on Saturday I'm going to be doing interviews, a little differently from the last time, but a little more extensive, so we can talk to the experts in the field of natural medicine. Looking forward to seeing you in the morning tomorrow. Have a good rest, those of you who are going to bed now. And those of you who still have a lot of waking hours, use it. Use it well. Let's enjoy the play of consciousness. Namaskar, everyone.